Joined by Reverend Mos Ntlha. He is the chairperson of Defend Our Democracy organization. And then you also have the governance expert, Dr. Sam Koma, who also is part of this discussion. To both of you, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I want to kick off the conversation with a statement that was made by the Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula. Let's take a listen to what he had to say this past weekend addressing a particular gathering.
Ankubelisa comrades, akom tufuna uZuma etrongweni. Asifuni lonto. Ulamula ikhopela lamcimbi uyawuqhuba. Sawubona uzawusibeka. Asifuni ixhego lina 81 years libe licinga ngetrongo. Sifuni lonto. Asifuni lonto. Ilento sathethe enkonfeni sathi msholozi masike sisondelane. Yabona, xhego lakuthi le. Asilicenge. Sisondelane senze lento abelungu bathi itunathering. Sisondelane. Akho mntu ufuna uZuma etrongweni. Kuzovela lamageza again achise izinto bathi irevolution lonto.
Let me start with you, Dr. Koma, as a governance expert. When the most powerful figure in the governing party says, we don't want Zuma to go back to jail, we don't want that, Lamola is overseeing that matter. He is dealing with it. That's in essence what Fikile Mbalula has just said. Does that suggest that we are all equal before the law?
Yes, basically that's what it means. And also, I just want to restate what the judgment says. So the Commissioner of Correctional Services, Mr. Tubakale, does not have an option. He does not have power to exercise any discretion on the matter. The Constitutional Court judgment states that Mr. Zuma, in law, did not finish serving his sentence. He must return, not he may return, he must return to the Escort Correctional Center in KwaZulu-Natal to do so. The Constitutional Court judgment further mandated the Commissioner of Correctional Services to effect its ruling, but the judgment is silent as to the how and the when in terms of the Commissioner proceeding to effect this order. So the return of Mr. Zuma to prison hinges on the Commissioner of Correctional Services working in tandem with the South African Police Service, because the court treaded carefully. It did not want to encroach into the issue of separation of powers between the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. So there's no, I mean, the judgment is quite explicit and unambiguous in its wording. So it's not confusing as to what needs to happen.
Reverend Ntlha, let's bring you into the conversation. I think just to make the context crystal clear here, what I'm asking is the ANC making the statement that says we don't want Zuma to go back to jail. The Minister of Correctional Services, Ronald Lamola, is dealing with that, and we are going to have to listen to where he takes us. Here's the context, Mr. Ntlha, and that is that the ANC is a party in government. What that simple means is that it has the power to make things happen. If this is what we're being told by the Secretary General of the ANC, therefore, again I ask the question, does that mean that we are all equal before the law?
Thank you, Dr. Mbalula. I think that's the challenge that the ANC faces, and it is up to the ANC to make it abundantly clear to the peoples of this country that we are equal before the law. We have, as a backdrop to this conversation, a damning state capture commission report which puts the ANC government on the dock, indicted of grand-scale corruption. And this is an opportunity, if they ever needed one, to demonstrate to the nation that there will be accountability for the malfeasances of the state capture era. And so the former president, in a sense, is a test case for the ANC. It's a test case to the degree that it is calling forth the ANC for what they are truly are.
Yeah.
Are they against corruption or are they not? And from what Mr. Fikile Mbalula is saying, it looks like they have not made up their mind yet about whether they want to be for accountability in the defense of our constitution or not. In fact, they have actually made it quite clear they are not prepared to subject themselves to accountability standards set out in the Constitutional Court judgment.
Okay. Dr. Koma, should the Secretary General of the ANC withdraw that statement then?
I don't think so, because yesterday he's on record in another platform where he is reported to have said the law is the law, everyone is equal before the law, contradicting the statement that he expressed in the audio that you just played. So I think the ANC NEC meeting, because he was reporting on the outcomes of the NEC meeting that took place over the weekend, I think the NEC might have arrived at a conclusion that let's allow the due process to proceed and follow. Let's not in any manner appear to be interfering in how the Commissioner of the Correctional Services and also the Justice Minister should proceed to handle the matter, including the Commissioner of Police. As I said, the judgment is very clear-cut. It says the ball is in the court of the Commissioner of Correctional Services to effect its order. It does not mention any other party except this head of Correctional Services, that is Mr. Tubakale.
Dr. Koma. Dr. Koma.
Yeah.
Let's you and I understand the South Africa we live in. What do I mean by that? The Commissioner of Correctional Services, who is the boss that he reports to? It's the Minister of Justice, is it not?
Yes.
If the Minister of Justice suddenly gets pressure from the party that is in government, the party that has taken him to be in the position that he is in government, and the instruction is, we don't want former President Zuma to go back to jail. Does Minister Lamola need to do everything in his power to ensure that the former president indeed does not return to jail? And therefore, what does it make, therefore, of the ongoing case of the arms deal trial, for example? Is that a simple waste of time because a decision has been made by those who are running government that we don't want Zuma to go back to jail, in the words of Fikile Mbalula?
Yes, Toli. So it means effectively we'll be entering into the terrain of a contempt of a court order, which is an offense that is punishable by law. And that consequence will be meted out against this head of the Correctional Services, who is being mandated by a court order to see to it that this decision is effected. But as I said, the court order does not provide the when and the how. Okay? So, but this is what we are likely to see. In the event the head of Correctional Services fails to execute the court order, as I said, it's very explicit. And that also may bring the governing party into conflict with the Constitution and the laws that are governing the country, and effectively and potentially creating a legitimacy crisis for itself.
Yeah. Reverend Ntlha, your statement is quite clear as defend our democracy. You are calling on everyone to respect the ruling of the Constitutional Court. Having listened to what Fikile Mbalula has had to say, I appreciate that in a different media briefing, he then went back on that statement, so to speak. So he's issued contradictory statements this past weekend. So with that confusion in mind, the ANC runs government at the end of the day, Reverend Ntlha.
Correct, yeah.
If that is the case, if we accept that, then that means that the ANC must communicate a singular message so that there is no confusion in society. Therefore, you may as well have a conversation with them to say, but surely there's got to be one message, particularly from a governing party.
That's correct. I think that obviously the absence of such a crystal clear message from the governing party suggests that it is not able to come up with such clarity because, as everybody knows, the ANC is a fractured party that in many ways has been unable to rise to the required challenges of governance. And this particular matter is very important to the degree that it impinges on the only document, the Constitution of this country, which holds us together, which creates any hope that we might forge ahead with a common sense of nationhood, a common sense of shared values and a shared interest in this democracy. What the ANC is doing with these statements is to say that you South Africans are on your own. You can't count the ANC as an important contributor to a commitment to this constitution. And so that's very sad day for the ANC, and going towards elections, I think it doesn't augur well for their prospects the way that I see it.
All right. Dr. Koma, let's conclude the conversation with you. So can we trust the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, given the context of what we've painted during this discussion? Can we trust him to follow the letter and spirit of the law in allowing for the Correctional Services Department person to basically exercise what the law requires of him? Can we trust the Minister of Correctional Services to do exactly that?
Yes, Cody, I don't think so. Let's take the minister out of the equation. You remember this judgment, it's about a decision which was taken by a commissioner of correctional services to release Mr. Zuma on medical parole. Now, the court has set aside that decision, and it has declared that decision unlawful and unconstitutional. And further, the judgment says the commissioner acted irrationally, and thus it has ordered the commissioner to correct the situation.
But, Dr. Koma, there's a but here, and a big one at that. There are those who are saying that this amounts to secondary victimization on the part of the former president because he didn't walk out of jail by himself. He was let out.
Yes, but the law is the law. The Constitutional Court is there to interpret the law, the Constitution, and come up with a remedy. It has done so. It has arrived at a conclusion to say on the basis of the facts put before us as the Apex Court, the commissioner acted irrationally. He considered factors irrelevant to the circumstances that apply to a inmate who's supposed to be released on medical parole. It further says, Commissioner of Correctional Services, proceed to action our order by ensuring that this matter is remedied within the confines of the Constitution and the applicable law.
All right. We'll have to leave the conversation there. Thank you very much to both of you. Dr. Sam Koma is a governance expert, and Reverend Ntlha, chairperson of the Defend Our Democracy organization.